Mr. Hunt has just done a little video which is posted on social media where he is trying to explain inflation in terms of coffee cups. He has been compared to Mr. Bean. Well, I must say, when I see Mr. Hunt, I don't immediately think of either Mr. Ben or Mr. Bean. Those are not the first names that come to mind. Mr. Hunt, he who has made spoonerism fashionable again. And Mr. Hunt, well, does coffee cups, or do coffee cups have anything to do with inflation? Not a great deal, really. And his simplistic explanation is perhaps a little unnecessary at this particular moment. What we want at this moment is not a condescending explanation with coffee cups about the nature of inflation, but a recognition that the inflation that we are suffering is partly a result of Liz Truss's ridiculous experiment with Kwasi Kwarteng's extraordinary package, and indeed the experiment of the current Conservative Party with Brexit. Neither of which get a look in Mr. Hunt's extraordinarily, what shall we say, patronising explanation with coffee cups. What we want is a little reality. What we're getting is more out of touch theatrics, and not terribly good ones. If you want theatricals, then I think really you need to get in touch with a professional. Grab a coffee and let Chancellor Jeremy Hunt explain. So he says that there are lots of reasons that inflation has gone up. Well, one of them is him. And he cites COVID, the war in Ukraine, that pushes up food and energy prices. But what about Brexit? What about Liz Truss? All that means is the price of coffee has gone up. And Mr. Hunt is then going on to say that the government has been investing in renewable and nuclear energy. How is that going to affect the price of coffee? The difficult decisions that the nation has got to do in order to balance the books and halve inflation has got very little to do with the cost of coffee in this particular case. I don't see that renewable energy impacts greatly on the cost of coffee. Nuclear energy impacts even less. That's what's happening, he says. That's our plan. No, this is a very, very futile gimmick that he has been told to use to explain complex economics, and it frankly doesn't wash. It frankly doesn't work. It is a nonsense piece of marketing. And if he wants to do something that's going to explain something, then really he should be explaining it. I don't think Mr. Hunt could explain how he crosses the road. Much less can he explain how inflation works. Who devised this? What is the script? What is the camera angle? What is the editing or choice of lens? Where are the professionals who are helping sell Mr. Hunt's idea? This has been scribbled on the back of an envelope, and he thinks that is sufficient. It isn't sufficient. Mr. Hunt needs to go back to school, I'm afraid. And I don't think he's the only minister in the present government. And while he's back at school, maybe he needs to give a little bit of thought to how to help schools, how to help education, because that is the next big problem on the list, because that's another industry that hasn't been supported. And bizarrely, COVID offered all the solutions with remote learning and with different ways of teaching. I don't understand.